What's up, guys? How's it going? Hope you're doing well. And I just thought of this funny story from when I was in school, and it kind of reminded me of a few other things in terms of wealth inequality and people not grasping reality when they grew up with money. Now, I would say Americans, because I mostly deal with Americans and know Americans, but I traveled a bit and I also watched this interesting German documentary on ultra wealthy German people, and they pretty much seem the same. It was like the journalist, excuse me, was following around some wealthy people, and she somehow got onto this like board meeting for a investment fund, some sort of like it's like a really old bank that is like an investment bank. So whatever. Excuse me. And she's like, "Do you think this is like not fair that you guys have all this wealth and people are suffering?" And I think most of them were born into it, and they're like, "No, why would it be unfair?" They were had like no, they weren't even in the realm of thinking that it's a possibility. Now, I I'm not one of these people that's like, oh my gosh, that's so annoying. I'm not one of these people that are like, we need Marxism, communism, socialism. We need complete equality and everyone owns the means of production. I'm not like that. But what I am like is people should be given as close to a fair chance to make a prosperous life for themselves as possible. And when you have ultra wealthy people basically passing all their wealth down to their offspring, that's just going to keep amassing. Oh my gosh. Sorry. It's just going to keep amassing wealth in this more and more smaller and smaller group of people. But the biggest thing is that these people aren't really contributing to society. I wouldn't even have that much of a problem with a multi-billionaire passing their wealth down to their child if their child used that money really well. If they created like tons of great businesses and they didn't spend much on themselves and innovated and so on and so forth, helped people. That is not often. I mean, I don't have statistics or anything, but often people just get a trust fund and they just blow it and they waste their life and actually end up in misery and kill themselves. Or else they just hoard the wealth for themselves. I don't have any sort of statistics on these, so I don't know exact percentages or whatnot. But what was I gonna say now? Oh, yeah. The reason I thought of this was because I went to one of the wealthiest, one of the best public schools in my state of Wisconsin. And most people were fairly well to do, and a lot of them were, I wouldn't say ultra wealthy, but like on the cusp of ultra wealthy. And they may have been. I don't really know how much money the people had, but this one girl, or I should say, I was in class, and one girl, something was taken that she had left in a locker room, and so she started crying, and then this other girl said, "Why do people steal things?" And it was one of like the stupidest things I ever heard. And I went to her house at one point later on, I think a year or so later. She had a 2-story bedroom, okay? And she lived in like a super nice house on the water, which I don't know how it is in your country, but in America, if you live on a lake or near the ocean, your property value can be easily like 3 times as much as one that's not near the water. And she just had a really nice house. And then when I walked in her house, they had a big map, like right when you enter, and then they had pins in like everywhere they've been. And each continent had at least like 10 pins. I think Europe had more like 80 or something. And yeah, it seemed like they went on they must have gone on a vacation every possible opportunity and been everywhere they possibly could, because there were just I'm gonna guess there were 200 pins on that board or something. Which, you know, if you're kind of a solo traveler and you kind of have a shoestring budget, you can get by and go to a lot of places, but that I wouldn't guess that was how they were traveling. I'm guessing they went to each place and splurged. So anyway, this girl asked, why do people steal things? And it was basically a modern version of, well, not the same sort of thought, but it shows the disconnect of like the Marie Antoinette quote, "Let them eat cake." Just like, are you an idiot? Same thing with this girl. And you know, being in poverty, I heard from a psychologist, causes actually damage to the brain, and causes trauma and things like this, and so it pushes you down further. So if you are healthy, you might get, if you are mentally or physically not healthy, but you're very poor, you might get mentally or physically unhealthy, particularly mentally. And that will make it that much harder to gain wealth and put things together. If you already are mentally have issues or physically other issues, it's going to be extremely difficult, particularly in America. So I think I'm quite different from most people in that most people start out sort of left-leaning, wanting the government to do a lot and socialism and things like this, and then go more the other way once they start making money and they don't want, their the money they earn taken out through taxes. I sort of started the other way. I thought I was quite libertarian, and I still think the core of me is. I still like my biggest, I guess, thing when it comes to politics or government is freedom. However, we don't have true freedom in this world, because when you're born into it, everything's already owned. You're not given anything. So if we really had true freedom, or if you would be able to sort of chart your own path, you wouldn't just be immediately subjected to whatever the world wanted. You would be given a slice of whatever the world, if there was one person on the earth, they would own all of it. If there were two people, if they were fair, it would be split amongst themselves, and so on and so forth. If there were 100 people, it would be split 100 ways. It's hard to divide up land now, but if you sort of aggregate the whole value of a country's given land and then divide it by the population, that newborn person should be given that amount of money, or at least have it dedicated to them in healthcare and in for education, and possibly buying a plot of land or a house, things like this. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? People seem to not understand what I'm saying when I say that, but I don't know. In my head, it seems pretty clear that it's not really fair that just because these people were on Earth before you, they get the stuff and you get nothing. You should be given something when you're born. That would be truly fair. So I guess I said liberty, freedom, But in order to have liberty and freedom, you have to have something in the first place. You have to, otherwise you by default don't have freedom. You know, you can do what you want on your land. If you don't have any, you're subjected to whoever owns it. So, yeah. I guess that's all I had to say. I was thinking, like, you know, it'd be nice if ultra wealthy people could understand what it's like to be poor. But as long as they have access to their money, they I don't know how to get that through their head. You know, maybe have them live amongst mentally ill people on the street, you know, to realize like how difficult it is to get out of that. But there's always this thing in the back of their head that could be like not really grasping the reality because they can always go back to their wealth. So anyway, yeah, just some stuff I was thinking about. So I've said this in a lot of other videos, but I think one of the best things to solve this is not trying to take all the money from ultra wealthy people. I think people who, like I said before, do create jobs or innovate in things, they shouldn't be penalized. I think when people spend on themselves, they should be penalized. So we should have ultra high, like luxury taxes, and then have the money from that go into things that, like healthcare, like helping people get mentally well, getting basic food and living and things like this. So I don't think we should be providing, you know, the best quality of food and housing and food and housing for people who are homeless or need help or ultra poor. Mostly because that's not possible. If it was possible, yeah, that'd be fine. But we should be providing something, right? So that they can actually get a foothold so that they can pull themselves up. So, yeah. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Love ya. And comment and like and subscribe. Tell me where I am wrong. I'm open to hearing. So, thanks. Take care, guys.